Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Kyle Bateman. He's the founder of GotChoices.org. And we'll learn from him how MyCHIPs, his company, and VoteTorrent are transforming money and voting through open source innovation. Welcome to the show, Kyle.
Thank you very much, AJ. It's nice to be on your podcast.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show, Kyle. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about how to redefine money and elections. That's what you are doing. We'll talk about all this. But first, let's learn a bit about you, your journey, your background, so that people know who they are listening to.
Very good. My background is in electrical engineering, but I ended up running some companies through my life. So I ended up spending a lot of time learning corporate administration and reading a balance sheet, learning financial literacy, maybe the hard way from the School of Hard Knocks. I retired from my main business back in about 2014. And since that time, I've been studying digital currencies and public policy and a number of areas that were of interest to me. And I've been working with this foundation, the GotChoices Foundation, to bring open source solutions to a number of public policy problems to try to make the world a better place and try to enhance freedom and choice and accountability for individuals and hopefully make everyone's lives a little bit better on the globe.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's understand how you are doing it. Let's come to MyCHIPs. What is this MyCHIPs all about?
MyCHIPs is a very novel approach to digital currency. When we say digital currency today, most people think about cryptocurrency, which is based on a public blockchain. They might think about a central bank digital currency. They might think about a decentralized digital currency, but MyCHIPs is built on a very different principle. It takes the idea of decentralization out to its logical maximum, to where every person essentially who's in the network shares a single private blockchain only with their closest neighbor. So this is a fully distributed system. It's based on private credit. It's not based on mining or traditional view of crypto coins. It's a very different approach, and it solves a number of the problems that we're seeing with current blockchain technology, and it's just a fresh approach to solving the problem.
Absolutely. Can you help us understand better from a simple person in a rural village in India? How he or she should understand MyCHIPs?
So let's talk just really briefly about a couple of different kinds of money. So I'm holding up here, for those who are audio listeners, I'm holding up a silver coin. This is kind of an ancient type of money that we think of, which is silver coins. And we call this equity money. This is a kind of money that you can hold, an asset that is an actual, it's a tangible thing. It's property that can be held, and it can be transferred from one person to another. Now I'm going to hold up a bill, a type of paper money that was used in the United States earlier. This one's back from the 1950s. This is a little bit different than modern money. If you look up at the top, for those who have video, it says silver certificate. So here I have a piece of actual silver, and then I have a dollar bill, which represents the silver. And so this is what we call an IOU, or a note. And so this is actually a commodity, and this is a form of credit money. So I want you to think about equity money, or money that I can own, and I want you to think about credit money, which is really a contract with another person. So blockchain was meant to try to model this type of money. It was actually modeled around gold, feeling like gold was a precious metal, and it was something that a single person could own. This type of credit money is really the way most modern money works in the world. We don't really go around giving silver coins to each other very much. We mostly use digital money today. And the reason we use digital money is because it's easier to transmit over an electronic device. Well, when they designed blockchain, they wanted to model a physical commodity that you could own. They call it digital gold or a coin. And so they invented a digital coin, but a digital coin is not actually silver. It's actually just a number. It's a piece of information. And it's possible for only a single person to own this coin at one time, but everybody in the world can own a piece of information. So we had a problem. When we're trying to make a digital coin, how do you make sure that only one person owns that at one time? And so they had to invent the blockchain as a public ledger, so that on the public ledger, you could register at all times who is the owner of a given digital asset. And so essentially, you need the entire world to agree on that ownership. It becomes a community consensus problem where everybody has to agree. So you have to have a public blockchain that everybody's party to. When you have a note is very much like a personal check. Now, we don't use personal checks very much anymore. But on a personal check, we would write out an IOU to a person. We would say, you know, I promise to pay you a certain amount of money. And this requires only the consensus of two people. And so we don't have to have a public blockchain anymore. This totally solves the problem of double spending. And it does create some other challenges, or a little bit different challenges, but we don't have the double spending problem anymore. And so we don't have to do mining. We don't have to do this public ledger. We can just execute a little private contract between two people that can be recorded on a private blockchain or the equivalent of a private blockchain. And it just links those two people together. And so when somebody buys something, a credit is issued on that ledger. And then what's really kind of magical about it is you can spend that. Now, I'm just showing you, it's a little bright on the screen, but I'm just showing that I have the app here coming up on my phone. And I can bring this up just like Venmo. That looks a little better on an angle there. I can bring it up like Venmo, except there's no bank in the middle. There's no Venmo. I have a series of partners, trading partners here, and I can send money to any of these partners. Now, what's really wonderful about it is once I get connected to a handful of people, I can not only send money to them, but I can send money to the people that they are connected to. And I can send the money to people that those people are connected to. And this can go any number of layers deep. And so essentially you could reach theoretically anyone in the world by this transfer of value through the network. Very much like the Ripple network that some of your listeners might be familiar with.
Absolutely. So let's talk about, we'll come to MyCHIPs also. But first you talk about, that Bitcoin and crypto has failed. Why do you say so? I thought Bitcoin is doing great. $100,000, you see.
I think it's a little bit of a stretch to say that it has failed. It's obviously very successful in doing what it does. But I think if you ask anyone who is a Bitcoin enthusiast, are you using Bitcoin in your daily purchases? The answer will be no. So Bitcoin has been used as an investment, and it's been used as a way to speculate on trading and to buy and sell in order to earn a return on investment. But it's not a mechanism that people use on a day-to-day basis in order to buy things. So MyCHIPs is very much the opposite. You cannot make money by investing in MyCHIPs. It's not an investment mechanism. It is a medium of exchange. So this is used very much for your daily purchases and not so much for trying to make money off of other people by speculating on the value of a commodity.
Okay, so it's like a platform which can be helpful for people for their day-to-day purchases
It's a very good. It's a payment system, not an investment vehicle.
Absolutely. So who are its competitors then? If it's not Bitcoin in that mode of Bitcoin, it's not something else, it's only a platform. Who are its main competitors? And How are you seeing this adoption happening for MyCHIPs?
Well, I don't think of competitors in the same way that a company would think of competitors. And the reason is because MyCHIPs is not a company. MyCHIPs is a protocol. It's free. I'm not developing it in order to sell it to anyone. I'm developing it in order to create a new internet protocol. So for example, people bring up web browsers today, and anybody can build a web browser and anybody can build a web server. And as long as your web browser speaks the same language, we call that HTTP and HTML. Those are two parts of the language that browsers and servers use. You can communicate information across the World Wide Web simply by speaking this language of information. Well, by the same token, I've invented a protocol which allows you to send value to other people across the internet, and by using a protocol or a language. And so anybody technically could build their own MyCHIPs app, or they could build their own MyCHIPs server. And as long as they communicate by this standardized protocol, they can participate in a worldwide network and exchange value with other people in the world.
Absolutely. But I would be either, in India, we use rupee. So I can, send rupees or purchase through rupee. Here, you can do it in dollars. Is it like that?
It's like that, except there's no bank. So when you buy and sell something with rupees, you're depending on the Indian central bank, the Central Bank of India, to issue those rupees into the money supply. And typically you would do this by taking out a loan. So you might borrow money to buy your house or to buy your car or to start a business. And in the moment of that borrowing, those new rupees come into existence into the money supply. And then they begin to circulate around in the money supply and people exchange those tokens as value. The difference with MyCHIPs is that each person on the network becomes an issuer of credits. And so these are the people that control the size of the money supply, and there is no central bank involved at all. So you're just exchanging your credits with your partner, with your neighbor who you trust. And these are all people that I trust. I only connect to the people that I already trust. And I quantify the amount of trust that I have with each of those people. And then as I buy things from them or they buy things from me, I pay them in chips. And then those chips become transferable by way of this algorithm throughout the network and can be used to pay other people.
Right. So it's all based on trust. But somewhere, if no bank is involved, somewhere money in whatever form has to be involved. Finally, there will be a day when people need to encash that trust or credit and get something tangible in their hands. How does that happen?
Well, I'll tell you, here's a current U.S. bill. Is this what you would call real money, or is this an IOU?
Well, this has sovereign guarantee, if I understand.
So the guarantee here is only in dollars. So this is a guarantee. This is a note. It's a Federal Reserve note. It's a promise to pay. But what do you think the promise to pay is? It's a promise to pay dollars. And so it's kind of recursive. By contrast, with MyCHIPs, what you're promising to pay is value. And so if you are a baker and you bake bread, you promise to supply bread or the equivalent. Now, can you supply rupees? Yes, you could satisfy a debt with rupees if you want, but you could also satisfy the debt with any good or services that is of value to your trading partner or anyone along the chain who may want to buy your goods and services. So in the case of the US dollar or the Indian rupee, the currency is not backed by any claim. You can't go in and ask for silver or gold and say, I would like my gold, please. Nobody's going to give you gold or silver. They're just going to say, yeah, you have rupees and you just get to keep the rupees. That's all you get. So we have become accustomed to thinking of private IOUs as something that has to ultimately resolve to fiat currency. Well, what I would like people to understand is that all fiat currency is an IOU. There's no fundamental difference between a private IOU and a government-backed IOU. What we want to get is we want to get to a commodity eventually. And so MyCHIPS embraces this idea. And when you're paid in an IOU from a person that you trust, and you can exchange that at any point in time for a good or a service. And that's when you're getting your actual value, is when you buy the loaf of bread or the petroleum for your car or the heating for your home. That's when you're actually getting the true value.
Right. So you see, you are the founder of GotChoices, but does this limit my choice or does it increase my choice? It feels like I'm getting back to the old barter system days. Is it?
Yeah.
How would you like to take counter that?
Yeah, this is not barter. First off, this is called a complementary currency or an alternative currency. So you can still trade in the fiat currency of your country, but now you have one more choice. You have an additional choice, and so it does enhance your choice. Barter is the exchange of one good for another. So MyCHIPS is not barter. MyCHIPS is real money. It is as real as the money that is issued by governments. It just is not government guaranteed money. It is privately guaranteed money. And so it uses all the same principles as the money that we use today, except what it does is it says those privileges that previously have been reserved only to central banks, we're now recognizing that each individual in the world has the power to issue their own credits, their own money. And as long as they have a trading partner who trusts them to some degree, or they trust in one direction or the other, it's possible to issue credits into the system, and you can create your own network of value.
Right. What do you want to do with this? Do you want to change the overall system, the currency and everything? The governments will have no other work then. Even banks will have no other work. The PayPals and all these things will have no other work.
Yeah, again, this is not meant to replace existing systems, but this is meant to give a little bit of competition to existing systems to keep them honest. And when people have alternatives in a free market, then everybody's kept honest. And so one of the things we complain about nowadays is inflation. There was a time when this would buy dinner for 5 to 10 people. And today it might buy dinner for one person. So inflation is an ongoing problem. MyCHIPS is built to not have inflation. So I think we should have a choice to use a fiat currency that's going to be inflated by the policies of government and central banks, or we should have the opportunity to choose a currency that is inflation protected and is not going to inflate over time. So I think that's how choice is enhanced.
Right, Kyle. So how much is the adoption? Means how are people taking this particular new sort of a thing for them?
Well, right now this is in development. So this is a test mode right now. So I'm not rolling this out to the general public. This is software that people can download, they can experiment with, they can learn from, and we're still in the development process of this before it's going to be rolled out in earnest. So right now I'm talking to enthusiasts, talking to technology leaders, I'm talking to programmers, trying to get people who have an interest in this and would like to get on board and participate in finishing this project and taking it to production status.
When do you see this coming for the general public?
Oh, I think within a year we should see this. It depends on how many people are working on it. We have a rather small group right now, but interest is growing and people are coming on board all the time and taking an interest in this. And that's what these podcasts are about, really, is I'm starting to spread the word to people a little bit, let programmers and enthusiasts know that there's a new tech out there, there's a better way to do this. And hopefully people will take an interest and will come and join our team and will participate in this, help us bring it to pass.
Absolutely. As you said, more competition keeps a lot of people, much more truthful, as well as, in terms of doing the right kind of business. Be that as it may, let's talk about elections now. You have this vote torrent. What is this all about? You want to again, change the whole concept of elections, the way it is happening all across the world.
Well, I mentioned to you that the purpose of MyCHIPs is to fully distribute the power to issue money. And what we're doing with VoteTorrent is fully distribute the ability to count election votes. So one of the problems we have in the world right now is people have a very low level of confidence in how their governments are conducting elections. The ballots go out, people sign their ballots, they turn them into the government, and then the government announces the results of the vote. And very often the people who are in government and come out and announce to you that they've won the election yet again, and they're still going to retain their offices. And sometimes it doesn't feel right. Sometimes we have doubts about whether the election was honest or not. And wouldn't it be great if everybody had the ability to audit that vote and know that the vote was conducted fairly and openly? So what VoteTorrent does is you get on your phone again, and everybody's phone forms an ad hoc network. You could think of it as a public blockchain where everybody's casting an encrypted vote. And we cast our votes into the system, and nobody can see what the votes are until the election is over, until the voting period of time is over. And when that time elapses, all of the encryption keys are released, and everybody can see the votes, and everybody gets to count the votes all at once. You're able to audit your vote on your phone, so you can look in and see how you voted. You can see that other people voted, but you will not be able to see how they voted. You'll be able to add up the number of people that voted with the number of votes, and you'll be able to count the vote yourself or with your own computer or your own phone, and you will know who won the election, and you will know exactly how the votes were done. And so this is a way to increase public confidence in voting. It's also a way to lower the cost of voting dramatically. It's been very, very expensive to conduct elections. And this would allow elections to happen in an hour or so in real time, and everybody could participate.
So a country's elections will be managed by a software, an individual or a group of individuals owning a company, or this is very independent.
There's no company. There's no company. It's just the public. The public forms their own set of ballots, and the community establishes the votes and counts the votes, and government is not involved in counting the votes at all. Government would issue the parameters of the election. They would say the election will begin on this day and it will end at this hour, and these are the candidates they're running, and then the public takes it over from there, and it just happens on a distributed network. You could think of it as a public blockchain where all these phones are cooperating as nodes and are cooperating to count up the vote. It's like the phones form kind of a computer network, a master computer, or a large-scale multi-computer, if you will, and counts the votes. And the government really is not involved at all, and nor is a company. There's no server, there's no company, there's no host, there's no cloud. It's just our phones. It's just us, citizens, counting the vote and auditing the vote. Very novel concept.
Right. So everyone needs to have a phone and an internet connection.
If you don't have a phone, then your government can supply an in-person voting place where you can go in and have a computer console. And so those people who don't have smartphones can still vote. But I think in today's age, the vast majority of people now have a phone that's capable of conducting this vote.
You're not happy with the present system, the way voting is done. Do you think individuals are that responsible to do all this conduct of elections themselves? Also, do you think it will be democracy, or it will be more about the mob itself? Together a group of people are deciding everything. How does that give on?
That's a different question, whether you believe in democracy or not. But if you want a democratic system, VoteTorrent will be a way to count the votes fairly. If you want to live in a totalitarian government or a monarchy or a religious-based government, I think those are choices that people can make. But if you choose to live in a country where voting is taking place, then I think the votes should be honest.
Absolutely. So, through all these things, what is it that you are trying to do? You want to change the world, or you want to give more choices to people?
I want to give people more choices and options. And when people are free, they have more options, they have more choices. And money is one of the ways that we can lose our freedom. If we don't control the money, other people control us through the money. And governments and elections and democracies, if we have fair and honest and open elections, then the people are able to have a greater say in how their lives are conducted. And when we don't, if we don't have free and fair elections, then we are somebody else's servant. We really are not free agents in the world.
Right, Kyle. So you are putting so much of effort, time, technology, your expertise. How do you monetize it? Don't you need money? Don't you? Would you look for making money out of this at any point in time?
Yeah, I do not monetize this project. The GotChoices Foundation is purely charitable, and it's something I do in my spare time, and it's not something I do for money. I have other employment that I do to earn my living, but this is purely a labor of love.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm sure a lot of people, not only in the US but across the world, would want to understand more about VoteTorrent, what about MyCHIPs, and how it can, possibly change the face of everything that we do, either in terms of money or either in terms of voting and everything, and actually put the power of democracy on the ground. So, for those people who want to connect with you, learn more about both these things, try it out. What's the best way for them to do so?
So if you're interested in MyCHIPs, you should go to the website mychips.org. That's kind of the central clearinghouse for information. You'll be able to get to the GotChoices website from there, from cross-linking, or you can go to gotchoices.org. You can read the original book that I wrote 10 years ago on promoting choice and freedom throughout the world. That's called the GotChoices book. You can read the MyCHIPs papers, which are on there. And there's a little video that helps you understand how MyCHIPs works. If you are a programmer, you can find your way to the GitHub repository where the source code is kept. If you want to send me an email on the contact form for GotChoices, I can invite you to the Discord channel where the developers meet and we plan and we work on the projects, and we would welcome anybody who wants to participate in the project. VoteTorrent is also available for those who are interested. That is early stage. You can go to votetorrent.org and see if it's something you want to participate in. Reach out to me again at GotChoices and let me know if either of those projects are something that you have an interest in. We would welcome you on the team.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining.
Thank you for having me.